Welcome to another episode of the Minnesota Meatloaf podcast. It's just Matt and I again today. How's it going, Matt?
Good. How are you, Aaron?
I'm doing well. Oh my God, it does not feel like February out there.
No, it was like almost 50. It was 49 yesterday, and I was walking around with a light coat and a hat and my shoes and glasses. No, I wasn't wearing my usual winter bundled up like you do normally have to wear in Minnesota.
No, it's like, yeah, you really didn't need a coat. And yeah, today's just like that again. So I'm liking it.
Me too. Do you think we're going to get hit with a blizzard yet in March?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I've heard everybody keep saying it though, but so it wouldn't surprise me, but I
Right.
hope.
I hope to hell not, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yep. So have you been watching or playing anything?
I started watching Daredevil again. I think you have too. We
Yep.
watched Echo on Disney Plus, and then that kind of got us between that and then the Deadpool Wolverine trailer and some of the rumors about the Fantastic Four movie. I got kind of super excited about Marvel again, and I had left off on season 2 of Daredevil, so I
Yep.
started watching that again, and that's really good.
I know I did too, and yeah, that is such an awesome show, and I especially like the second season because it's got the Punisher in it, my favorite character. So
Yup. I really wish they'd do a better job with Venom. They made those couple of Venom movies, but they're not, I don't know.
yeah,
I just don't like them that good. Venom was
yeah,
always my favorite character, but Deadpool, I
yep,
guess, is was always a close second, and they've done well. Ryan Reynolds does a good job with Deadpool, I think.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited for the third movie. I really like the trailer; it was pretty cool. So
You know, and then I was playing a lot of Nobody Saves the World, which is a
yeah,
fun game. It's kind of like
yeah,
Zelda or Gauntlet, a little bit of both, and it's
mhm,
kind of like trying to you're one character, but you get to max out all the different character classes in one character. And there's goofy things like a horse and a turtle and a zombie and a what else?
magician,
Yeah,
magician and dragon, and then a mechanic and a bee if you get the DLC, and
yep. One of my favorite powers is the old zombie bite, where when they die,
yep,
they come back as zombies, and you just keep I spam that until I have like 50 zombies on the screen, killing
yep.
everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, and then with the like the magician, you can summon all the rabbits and the tigers, and
Yep,
so you have a whole screen of those fighting for you. Yeah, it's
yep,
a fun
exactly.
game.
Yep.
Yeah, it gets challenging though. Once you do like the new game plus, that's like, oh my
Mhm.
God, what were they
You get to keep
thinking?
all your abilities and stuff.
You
I
do.
suppose that's usually how New Game Plus works.
Yep, yep. Everything goes over, but then the enemy level is 75, so it's
Yeesh.
like max. So and things have changed. You have to pass pretty much most of the dungeons in order to advance, so you can't like skip many.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's tough, and some of them are like, what the heck, and you just have to try to figure out the right build for your character. And so
Mm-hmm.
but
Nice.
and then I got back into Call of Duty. I've been playing the
Oh,
new Call
really?
of Duty because there's like a zombie mode, and
Uh-huh.
all like the characters you can unlock are zombies, like
Mm-hmm.
Skeletor characters.
Yeah. Lots of skeletors.
But well, so yeah, we if you listen to our previous podcast, I do have Skeletor, the skin on that, but that's a lot of zombies and stuff. But the zombie mode is so fun because as you're trying to do these different missions, there's like tons of zombies and monsters, and you can actually defeat the other players because as they're shooting zombies, they're preoccupied with that, so you can come up to them and take them out
Nice.
and get the experience. And it's like, hey, I can actually do pretty decent in this game. So
Nice.
I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty. So
That's cool.
yeah. So should we
Um,
get to our? Oh,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna
So,
say, speaking of games, today we're gonna be talking about some games, but we're gonna go old school,
yep.
analog style board games.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about our top three board games growing up.
Yep. Do you want to start or should I?
We're actually not well. The last one, my number one, I guess, isn't growing up. It's kind of current. I guess it's top three board games. So
Okay. Mine are all
I'm
growing up
changing
if
it.
it
I'm
makes you
changing
feel
it right now.
better.
What's that?
Yeah. Mine are all growing up if it makes you feel better.
Okay. Yeah.
You're changing the rules on us right at
Changing
mid
you up
progress.
last minute.
Hmm.
Do you want to start or want me to start?
Sure, I'll start.
Okay.
So my first one is a game that I have just some really vague memories of. I did actually go and buy one off of eBay years later, but it's a game called I Want to Bite Your Finger, Vaunt with a V,
Yep.
and it's also called, I think, the Dracula game, and that's what it is. It's a Dracula. And my cousins had this. They were a little older than me. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, and they were maybe like 7, 8, 9, 10, that range. And I was over at their house and they had this Dracula game. And what it is, and the only reason I remember how it works is because I bought it and read the rules later, but there's a little bit of a board and you have pieces, and then there's a big stand up of like a Dracula with his cape shut, and there's a clock. And you can move, you're trying to get around the board, and you can move your piece as many spaces as you want, but for each space you move, you have to click the clock one notch, one number forward. And every time you do that, there's a chance that Dracula's cape pops open and he's there standing there with his mouth hanging open like a rubber doll. And Lords of Acid starts playing. No, just kidding. But and then you have to stick your finger in Dracula's mouth and push down on a little button on the back of his head. And sometimes it'll bite, quote unquote, bite you and leave two little like red Sharpie marker marks on your finger. And then I think you have to go all the way back to the start. And then sometimes it won't, like his bite won't go down, and then you won't get the marks on your finger and you're saved or whatever. And then the way I remember it is that we never actually made it around the board because inevitably you got bit by Dracula and had to start over. And then it just basically degenerated into let's stick our finger in this thing and see how many times we can make Dracula bite us. And and it basically just became an excuse to play with the Dracula thing. But it's really fun, and it was such a cool concept for a game, and I don't think there's anything like it nowadays.
No, there isn't. And I remember you telling me about that, and I was like, oh my God, this game just sounds absolutely amazing. And then you got it
Yeah.
off of eBay when we were living together in college, and it
Yeah.
was awesome. We played it, if I remember right. And
Yep, exactly. We had to
but
try
it
it
is,
out.
it's exactly how you described it. Yeah, you played around went around the board, and then you had to stick your finger in the hole, and then ask if he bit you or not. And it sounds like a crazy concept, but that's what it was. It was awesome.
Yeah. So
No,
that's my number three pick. I want to bite your finger.
awesome. My number three pick is the Ghostbusters game by Milton Bradley. It came out in '86.
Nice.
And what it was you had a board and it was like a 3D game. It took a while. I know I didn't play it that often because I don't know, for some reason it took me a while to set up, and I didn't want to
Hmm.
go through the hassle. And plus I really didn't have anybody to play it with me. So I'd have to
Hmm.
play it by myself. But it was based on the Ghostbusters movie, and and there was like these different traps you would set up, and then different rooms you would go through, and then
Hmm.
there was like a center base that you would drop a skull, and the skull glue in the dark, and
Hmm.
or glowed in the dark, and you drop it down this like a trap, a Ghostbuster trap, and then it would
Hmm.
go down one of four slots, and then it would set off a
Hmm.
trap. And as you're moving around the board, and if your character was on one of the traps, it would knock you down, and then you'd have to start all over the area.
Yep.
But the object was in each room you had to collect ghosts. You had to collect so many ghosts, and then you could move to the next room,
Uh-huh.
and then to win the game you had to go up a flight of stairs and then shut the trap.
Yep.
And then and then the skull could go down the steps and knock you down, and then if you got knocked down then you'd have to start all over. And but it was pretty cool, and there was like secret rooms and different things. And but like, well,
Hmm.
there was only like four rooms and then four different traps. But I remember it was playing that a lot by myself because nobody else would play it with me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was the four rooms and the four traps, and the
yep,
one trap was like a wall that went forward, and
yep,
that also doubled as a secret passage
yeah,
because if
yep,
you were in the one space, the wall would knock you over and
yep,
take you out. But if you were like one space further back, then you could use it as a secret passage and
yep,
skip to the next room.
yep. And then there
Yeah,
was
that was,
like, yeah, the traps were like, yeah, that was like a secret door. And then if you're on the other side, that door could hit you
yep.
and knock you down. And then there was the stairs. If you were trying to go up the stairs, the skull could go down there. And then there was like a little uh like a teeter totter thing on one of the floors. And
Oh
then if
yeah.
the skull hit that, it would knock you, kind of flip you off. and
Yep.
then there was like a knight with an axe that would like hit you. So,
Cool.
but didn't you say it was like a remake of an old game, Matt?
There was, yeah, like I found this out just like 2 years ago. I should try to Google it. This is why I should prep ahead of time.
Yeah.
It was a just a generic, I think, haunted house game. It might have just been even
Okay.
called Haunted House, but it was made by Milton Bradley, the same company, and it
Yeah.
basically was the exact same game, just that it didn't have Slimer. Like, because in the Ghostbusters game, I know like some of the ghosts, there was pictures of Slimer, and
Yeah. And the
your
cards.
characters, like your playing pieces, were like Egon and Peter and Ray, and it
Yep.
just was like a generic, like just standard dudes or kids even, and like
Yep.
without all the Ghostbuster stuff. So they basically just rebranded it as a Ghostbusters game,
And it
which
was
is pretty
awesome. Like,
smart.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. My number three is the Ghostbusters game. That was a cool game.
Nice. My number two is a game called Dragon Strike,
Mm.
and Kurt, the who's not here, but he sometimes is with us, actually bought this game. It might have been one of those clearance KB Toy Store finds. I
Mm.
don't remember, like, because KB Toy Stores would never get rid of anything, and they would just like stick another clearance tag over the other one until finally there was like seven clearance tags, and it'd be like
Yeah.
73 cents. Just give us something for God's sake. Just take this
Yep.
thing. But it was Dragon Strike, and it was made by TSR, the company that makes Dungeons and Dragons,
Mm.
and it was meant to be sort of like a intro, like a pre Dungeons and Dragons, like get you transition from a board game to a Dungeons and Dragons type game. And it had a board and it had pieces, and one person had to be the DM, and then there was little scenarios in the book. But this game's claim to fame was that there was a tape. I think it was a VHS tape, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
It
you
was a
could
VHS tape.
and you could watch this tape, and this supposedly was going to teach you how to play the game. Did it teach you how to play the game, Aaron?
No.
Did anything in that tape have anything to do with the actual effing game?
I remember right. I don't think it did.
In fact, I think it actually contradicted the rules of the game in like a couple places where it's like, oh, and you could do this, and then the rules are like, no, you can't do this. And it's like,
It was so confusing.
right. It was like way, and it was meant to be like your first experience into Dungeons and Dragons. And so if you didn't have any experience at Dungeons and Dragons and this was your first experience, it was so frustrating and so
Yeah.
confusing. And it's like, what the hell? But we actually did end up having fun. We figured it out a little bit, and I remember there was like minis that were really cool. There was a troll that was huge, and
Hmm.
there was the different kinds of dice. Like there was a 8-sider and a 12-sider and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And you get nicknames for the dice after a while,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I think in the tape there's like a scorpion, like the Scorpion King, the Rock, whatever that kind of creature is,
Yeah.
like a human scorpion centaur. And in
Yeah.
the tape, they're like, I'm gonna grab its tail and stick it through its heart. So of course, the first time in the board game when we get to that thing, Kurt's like, I want to grab its tail and stick it through its heart. It's like, well, nothing in the rules says you can do that, so I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I think looking back on it now that I've actually played Dungeons and Dragons, I
Yeah.
think you were meant to sort of like improvise a little bit and like do
Yeah.
like skill checks and do like go off the script a little bit. But
Yeah.
if as an intro to D&D, it didn't explain any of that at all, and
No.
we were so lost and confused and had fun though.
Yeah, it was. It was fun. And then, but yeah, like you said, we would follow the rules. It's like, well, it doesn't say that, so you can't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly. So Dragon Strike. I've looked for that one on every once in a while. I'll look for that on eBay just because I kind of want to paint the figures, but
Yeah.
I haven't broken down and bought one yet. But that one's kind of a claim to fame for having its VHS tape that meant to teach you and just was horrible.
Yeah. Wow. I wonder how much does it go for on eBay? Is it a lot or is it?
I don't think it's a lot.
Oh,
I can
yeah.
look it up right now. You start talking about
Okay.
your number two, and I'm going to look it up.
Okay. My number two is pretty much kind of on the same lines as yours because it has to do with the VHS tape. My
Nice.
number two is Doorways to Horrors. And
Oh,
back in '86 again, it seems like my stuff always has like a theme or running some
yeah.
similarities. But
Yeah.
and I got both of these games for Christmas. So but Doorways to Horror was a VHS game, and to be truthfully honest, I never learned how to play it correctly because the rules were so confusing.
I
And I
think
don't
that's
know,
how a lot of board games get played.
but it wasn't really a board game because it was like a VHS tape,
Oh,
and
just
you
quick
would
side
watch
note.
it. Oh,
Sorry to interrupt, but Dragon
yep,
Strike's going for about $80 on eBay. Yeesh, plus
cool,
shipping.
huh?
Still looks cool though. All right, go
Awesome.
ahead. Proceed.
Okay, but yeah, Doorways to Horrors was the VHS game, and what you pretty much did was you had five monsters. There's like a zombie, a Dracula, a creature. They weren't like Dracula or Frankenstein. They
Right.
would call different things because of copyright. And
Yep.
then you had dice, and on the VHS tape, it was several like hundreds of clips of horror movies. And
Mm-hmm.
so what you had to do is you shook the dice, and then there'd be like a color. It'd be like blue, green, red, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would fast forward the tape to like a blue door or a red door, or whatever color was on the dice, and then you'd watch the clip. And then at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the clip, it would show one of the monsters in the game.
Uh-huh.
And then I still really don't understand how the hell you play it because I sold it on eBay, but so we would make up our own rules, or I made up my
uh,
own rules on how to play it because the monsters all had like a weakness, and you had
uh-huh.
cards like with numbers, and I don't know, you had to bid on things and stuff, and I never understood that. But we played it how at the end of the clip, the monster that was featured, if you had the card that it had its weakness, like the zombie was like a torch, I think, and if you had that
Uh-huh.
and played it, then you could steal the zombie. And then at the end
Oh,
of the game,
nice.
whoever had the most monsters or whatever won because you could
That
keep
makes
stealing them
sense.
from the other player. But I remember I would just watch the video. There's just all these dumb clips, and the guy that was on there kind of sounded creepy and stuff. And so, but yeah, it was kind of a cool game. But then they made like several ones. Like there was a Clue one, I think, and
Yep.
then like an adventure one, and then there
Someone
was
I
a dub.
know
Oh, go ahead. What?
I was just gonna say someone I know had the Clue one, and I remember watching the tape. And again, we never really figured out how to play it, but it was
Yeah,
like kind of like if you had to fast forward the tape to different spots, and then if you like saw someone with the pistol, then you knew like, oh, a pistol is the murder weapon or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I'm sure it was clever how they did it, but it was cool. And then there was a WWE one,
Oh
a
wow.
wrestling one, which would have been kind of cool. So,
My brother, when he was really little, got it was like for toddlers, and it was Candyland VHS Bingo, and it
oh,
basically was like bright Candyland cards with like red, green, blue, yellow, and they were like bingo cards. And then you would play the tape, and there was like three or four different stories, and it would be like, oh, Larry Licorice went out for a walk, and he saw a red candy drop or something, and then
uh-huh.
you could put your piece on your marker on the red spot on your card, and you're trying to get bingo.
Okay.
But if you weren't a toddler, you realize quickly that the videotape says the same colors in the same order every single time, and you can
Yeah.
pick which card you want and just win. And like, oh,
Yup.
I won again. Sorry, John. Blam.
Yup.
I'm the king of Candyland VHS bingo.
Yup. Yeah, that was kind of a phase, I think, back then, the VHS games, which were kind of neat. But
Yup.
yeah, my number two was Doorways to Horror.
Nice. My number one pick was a game I got for Christmas, and it came in an enormous. Oh, real quick before I get to my number one, quick side note. Speaking of just making up the rules as you go along, do you remember playing Axes and Allies with Ron?
Nope. That was
Oh,
before I knew you
that was
guys.
before
Nope.
you. We used to play Axes and Allies as a very elaborate war game based on World War II.
It looked too crazy and too complicated, so I stayed away from it.
It's I don't to this day I do not know the actual way to play because me and Kurt and Ron would play it, and Ron would basically just make it up as he went. And it would be like, you can do this, you can do this. What can I get for this? You can pay this. If you have this, you can get this. And then it was like Ron would like one turn, it would be like Ron shook four sixes, and he'd be like, oh, now I can get a warship. And then the next turn, I'd shake four sixes, and I'd be like, oh, so now I can get a warship. And he'd be like, no, you can't because of this reason and this other thing, and this happened. And it's like, oh, okay, Ron, sure.
Would he win every time?
Yeah, yeah, and then he'd win every time.
Man,
So anyway, not my favorite game, but I had to throw that out
no.
there.
Yeah. I remember
But
you talking about it. You guys all three talking about it, but yeah, no, I never played it with you guys.
yeah, my number one game is Fireball Island,
Oh,
and
awesome.
I don't know, I must have been like 10 or 11 or something when this came out, and it was a great big plastic or vinyl, or I don't know what it was made out of, but it was like a plasticky hollow island of a volcano, and then there was red marbles, and there was a like a idol in the middle of it, and then as you played the game you would shake to move your guys around the board, and there was different treasure cards you could get to different things. But if you shook a one on the dice, then you got to shoot the fireball, and you could rotate. There was all kinds of little ramps throughout the board where, and there was red marbles, and those were the fireballs, and then you could launch it out of the thing's mouth, and it would roll down, and you try to take out the people. And there were spots where there was other red marbles on the board, so it would like
Yeah.
do like a chain reaction. Like this marble would hit that one, which would roll down and hit that one, which would and again, it became like we played the actual game and I knew the actual rules, but it generally became set it up and shoot fireballs at people and just play
Yep.
with it like it's a toy instead of an actual game.
Yep.
But that is one we did play all the way to the end several times, and it was
Yep.
fun. But the most fun, of course, is taking people out with the fireballs,
Oh yeah.
rolling the marbles down the hill. And I know
Yep.
late, like just a few years ago, they came out with like someone did like a reboot of it or like a newer version, and then there was a bunch of like add-ons and expansions. I
Yeah.
remember seeing them at like the Games by James store, but now I haven't seen any of them lately, and I haven't heard anyone talking about them. So I don't know
No,
what
and
happened.
Target had them for a while too. I've seen it at Target and I almost bought it, but yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. No,
I ended up
that was a
selling.
fun.
I ended up selling it on eBay for like $150 or something. It cost a
Wasn't it?
ton to
And then you
ship.
paid like 200 for shipping or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's how
I
they
think I
get
went
you.
back and asked the guy, like, hey, can I get some more money since it's costing this much to ship?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you have no idea that it would be that much to ship, but or
Yeah, it
it
was
was
ridiculous.
expensive. Yeah, it was.
I think I sold it for like, actually, I think what it was I sold it for $150, but then it cost like $80 to ship. So
Yeah,
I ended up making like $70 on the
yeah.
deal.
But I know
But
some of
oh
that stuff is, yeah, but
well.
made something on it at least.
Yep, exactly. And played shot a lot of fireballs over the years. Got
Yep.
my money's worth out of it.
Yep. Awesome. My number one is a newer game. It's called Horrified. I don't know if
Okay.
you've seen it, Matt, or I can't remember what year it exactly came out. Probably like 4 years ago, or maybe five, I don't know. But I picked it up and the kids and I play it all the time. And it's a horror themed game. There's three different versions now. There's like a Greek myth or mythology one, and then there's American monsters, and then
Okay,
there's
I've
like
seen that one.
a classic monster one. So it's got like Dracula, creature from the
Hmm.
Black Lagoon, and the object is you and I think four other players or 4 to 6 players or whatever, however many players. You work together as a team and you need to stop the monsters, and you can choose which monsters you want to fight. So like Dracula
Oh,
and
cool.
the creature from the Black Lagoon. And then there's like a board, and then you draw like pieces out of this bag, and then you like set them around the board at these different locations. They tell you where you set them. And then by using those, and they're colored pieces, and by using those colored pieces, they do different things. So like one of the things you need to do is like for Dracula to destroy him, you need to destroy 4 of his coffins hidden on the board.
Hmm.
So, and you need 3 red items to destroy the coffins. So then
Ah,
you go to the area, you have 3 red coffins or 3 red items, you throw them away, they can destroy a coffin. And then,
nice.
like if you're working together as a team, if somebody's closer, has more moves and it's going to go by you and can go to just and is planning on destroying a coffin, as they land on your spot, you can give them the items and then they can continue on.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so it's just a fun game. And then there's like the monsters get turns to move, a chance to move, and then if they get close to you, they attack you, and then you lose by there's a terror level. And there's
Okay.
villagers that you have to try to protect too and take them to
Hmm.
safe spots, and if the monsters kill the villagers, then the terror level goes up. Or if
Ah.
they don't really kill you, but they can knock you out. And then like if they attack you and your energy goes to zero, then you go to like hospital or whatever, and then the
Hmm.
terror level goes up. So, but it's fun. It's like kids and I played a lot, and it's fun because you work as a team. You're not like trying to be the one winner, but it's a pretty cool
Hmm.
game. So
Nice.
yeah, my
That
number
sounds
one's
fun.
Horrified. Yeah,
Cool. Do you like is there a certain one of the versions you like better than the others, or are they all cool?
The American Monsters is kind of cool because that's got like Bigfoot and Chupacabra,
Oh,
and
nice.
we have that
Mothman.
one. And what?
Mothman, is that one of them?
Mothman, and yep. And
Nice.
then I'm trying to think of the other ones, but we don't have the Greek mythology one. We didn't get
Oh,
that
okay. They should make a
one.
slasher one with like Jason and Freddy and
I know it
Leatherface.
wouldn't be surprise. It wouldn't surprise me if they did. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Nice. Did you see that oh yeah, I sent it to you. They're making a House of a Thousand Corpses board game.
I did. I can't. I can't
That's
wait for that.
yeah, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Trick or Treat Studios has some really cool games. I just actually bought a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game from them,
Oh,
and I
nice.
know I'll never play it, but it's still
Right.
pretty cool.
Sometimes it's cool just to like look at the pieces and read the instructions and go, yeah, oh yeah, I can imagine what it'd be like playing that.
Yeah, I know. I've got several games that are like that are like I just bought them because they're just so cool, and then it's like, yep, they sit there. I don't know if I'll ever play it, but it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I did a Kickstarter quite a few years ago for Night of the Living Dead board game.
Mm.
And I think it's like an expansion of the Zombicide or something.
Oh, sure.
But
Yep.
but yeah, I did the Kickstarter and it was the first time I did it, and I'm like, I don't know about this because you spend like 100 and some dollars and you don't have anything, and
Yep.
then eventually then they keep. But what was nice was they kept updating you saying, okay, now we're doing this, now we're doing this, and then so it was pretty good. But yeah,
Nice.
it's cool. It's just sitting there, opened it up, looked at it, said, yep, there it is. So,
Nice.
you know, but yeah, I suppose that this concludes this episode.
Yep. I think time to wrap her up.
Yeah,
Uh, was fun.
it was talking
Yeah.
about games, and we'll be
Yeah.
back probably next week with another new episode.
Yep.
Not sure
Might
what
be
we're going
top
to
three
talk
hot
about.
dogs.
What was that?
Top three hot dogs.
Top three hot dogs.
Yep. Number one is the foot long hot dog at the county fair.
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
Yep.
I don't know.
Number
No,
two.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Number two,
But
the mini corn dogs at A&W next to Minnesota Picnic at the Mall of America.
oh yeah, next to regular card.
Yep.
All
No, but yeah, we'll be back next week. So
right, please like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for listening.
yeah, thanks a lot.